Novel title, Hail the King. Chapter 16, The Insane Discovery. As Emma stared at Faye, a mischievous smile covered her face. The front half of your Majesty's palace. There's enough space for all the soldiers. It depends on whether or not you are willing to do so. Faye's eyes brightened. Great idea. That's it. Brooke, go ahead and organize the remaining soldier. Make sure that you're able to move all the wounded soldier to the front half of my palace. Also, notify all the doctors. It doesn't matter how severe the injuries are, tell them to try their best to maintain the lives of the wounded soldiers. I will handle the rest. Brooke was shocked. Your Majesty, you can't. Why not? Faye laughed. They bled for me in the kingdom of Chambord, so why can't I provide them with a better place to stay and be treated? Emma was stunned. She proposed this solution not to solve the problem, but to childishly confront Faye. She didn't expect Faye to listen to her. Hey Alexander. Are you sure about this? It was unheard of that a king would offer his palace as healing facility for the wounded soldiers. Faye purposely rubbed Emma's head and made a mess of the hair. Of course, thanks for your suggestion, kiddo. You are the kiddo here. Angela didn't say a word. She simply smiled as she watched Faye and Emma play with each other. Her mood was unprecedentedly happy. How long had it been since she was this happy? Angela didn't know the answer to that question herself. The way she was looking at Faye was getting brighter and brighter. The wounded soldiers were quickly moved to the front half of the king's palace. Food, water, wool blankets, and clothes were distributed to all of them under Angela's and Emma's lead. Faye had also generously given out a portion of his treasure and wealth to motivate the soldiers. At this dire moment, morale had to be high. Aside from spiritual encouragement and motivation, there had to be some material benefits too. As a student who had taken psychology courses before, Faye knew what he had to do. The cheering of, "Hail King Alexander," resounded throughout Chambord Castle once more. Some wounded soldiers were touched and started crying, and swore to devote their lives towards following King Alexander's commands. Faye's action had definitely won over the soldiers' respect even more. In this world where the lives of commoners were basically worthless, it was pretty easy to win over the support the people. After organizing the wounded soldiers, Faye handed control over to the military guru, Brooke, to plan duties such as the guarding and securing the defensive wall and putting up more barriers. He returned to the back of the palace and ordered that no one was to enter his room. He had to check on his injuries. Luckily, they weren't too severe. His first battle wasn't bad. He wasn't injured at all when fighting the two 1-star warriors. Only when he was trying to take on the 3-star warrior Landis did he get injured. He went head-to-head with the exploding sun strike and only puked some blood. The most severe injury was when Faye's shoulder was pierced by Landis' sword. Landis' fire energy had entered Faye's body through the sword and shocked his internal organs, an injury similar to Pierce. Faye took a gamble when he intentionally let Landis pierce him. He brought the strength and abilities of the barbarian to this world, thinking that the defense and armor of the barbarian was also probably brought to this world. It would minimize the damage from Landis. In fact, he won the gamble. The energy of a 3-star warrior should have been able to shatter Faye's organs into pieces, but due to barbarian's sick armor and defense, the organs were only shocked. There weren't any deadly effects. Of course, Faye had to do that. In that situation, Faye couldn't think of another way to temporarily defeat Landis except for tricking him. If Faye didn't force Landis off of the defensive wall, he would have become just another soul under Landis' sword by now. It wasn't that Faye wasn't scared of death. It was just that he was too scared of death, so he had to risk everything he got. After checking his injuries, Faye began doing something very important. He sat on the bed and tried to enter the Diablo world. If he wanted to save the lives of his soldiers, he had to enter the Diablo world once again. Faye's idea was simple. If he could bring the abilities and attributes from the character in the Diablo world to real life, then he could probably bring the items and potions into the real world. If he could bring the healing potions, which could literally heal all the health of a dying character in the Diablo world, into the real world, then Pierce and all other soldiers' lives could be saved. After thinking about that, Faye couldn't wait to enter the Diablo world. He meditated on the bed. He concentrated as he tried to remember how he entered the Diablo world for the first time. He tried to communicate with the strange voice inside his head. The result surprised Faye. There was a quick response. Gamer Faye seeking approval to enter Diablo world. Soul scan valid. Game time verifying. Excess time left over. Request approved. Countdown 3, 2, 1. Enter. The cold yet mysterious voice spoke. Faye had the pleasure to travel through the Stargate again, as he felt dizzy and a strange wave went through his body. The scene in front of Faye surprised him. He remembered that he was still in the den of evil on Blood Moor. He was expecting to be sent back to the same place, but it definitely wasn't the case. He was not at the den of evil, nor rogue encampment. It wasn't even in the Diablo world. He was in front of a 3D projected screen. On the screen, there were 7 playable characters: Amazon, Assassin, Barbarian, Druid, Necromancer, Paladin, and Sorceress. They were all standing in front of a bonfire. Every character was real. Faye could even hear them breathing. It felt like there were 7 people standing in front of Faye. Is this the selection screen in the game? Why am I here? Could it? As Faye was thinking, he saw a button under the screen. Create a new character. Faye was stunned at first, he couldn't control his excitement. Create a new character. Does that mean I could play other classes and bring their abilities into the real world? An imaginary door opened in front of Faye. He could see his bright future. There were numerous opportunities. If he was a level 99 character in Hell game mode and was able to use those abilities in the real world, how powerful could he become? All he could think about were the possibilities. Hundreds of abilities from all 7 classes would definitely create a big storm in the real world, and no one would be able to defeat him. This is insane. Faye couldn't hold himself together. He had to try it out to be sure. He thought about it and decided to become a fancy mage this time. Instantly, a beautiful woman representing the class sorceress stepped forward. She waved her powerful wand and lightning came down from the sky, then she bowed to Faye. The bottom on the screen changed to confirm selection. Faye pressed yes. The screen began disappearing and his vision blurred. It was the sign of entering the Diablo world.